and welcome back to Life of a Volleyball Player. Today is Life of an Outside Hitter in a 6-2 rotation. Now, a couple of things we need to focus on for outside. Remember, we are one of the best hitters on the team with the strongest arm, okay? So that's one of the things we're focusing on. While middles, we have them blocking a lot of the time. We're our team's biggest attacker. Another thing to realize is we are covering our setter and serve receive most of the time. So we still need to be good at passing. We can't forget that skill, okay? Because we're still going to be pulling to the back row, helping out with passing. So we're going to jump into rotation 1. Now in rotation 1, as you can see, we're in zone 2. So we're already in the front row. And we're going to assume that we flip the coin and we are serving. So when we're serving, we're going to ignore our back row. And we're really just going to focus on the front row. So we've got our right side, our middle, and our outside. Which that's who we are. So our outside is not in her base, right? She's in the right side's base. So how are we going to get her all the way to her base on the left? Well, we're all bunched up in the center, just like we've been talking about in past videos. Our hands are up. We're blocking from our server back here. We're blocking the view of our server from back there. All right, and we're going to work on, as soon as that ball is served, we sprint to our spot. We're still up at that net. We're still ready to block. Once we block, remember we block, we come back, we transition off the net behind that 10-foot line. We want to pull actually all the way outside of the court. Give yourself as much room as possible, and then approach, and then we're back at our base all the way over here. So pretty easy for serve, just this motion back and forth along this line. All right. Now serve receive, again, is always where it gets difficult. So we're going to set up for serve receive. A couple of key players that I want to point out. We're going to ignore most of the back row, except for our setter. Now our setter, we're going to pull all the way over to the sideline, and our outside hitter is going to pull back actually to right above her. So you want to be one step in front of her, but you still want to be close to the back row. You still want to be ready to hit, ready to receive that serve. And we're going to ignore our front row in this case. So the only person on the court I want you to focus on is our setter. Your goal in rotation 1 serve receive is to block the setter from getting first ball. As soon as that ball is served, setter's going to be sprinting up, so you are basically taking her spot and you are in charge of this whole area right here. Okay? Setter should not be taking that ball. That should be our outside hitter. So the ball's going to be served at us. We're going to pass it up. And then as soon as we pass up that ball, everyone's going to go to base. So you're going to come all the way over here, back to your base. So you're sprinting across the court in the middle of the play, and then everyone else is going to go to their base. So, just to recap, they serve the ball at us. We are there right in front of setter, blocking her from being able to take that first ball. So we're going to take that first ball if it comes to us. And then once that ball goes back over, we can go back to playing in our outside base. All right, so let's go on to rotation 2. Now, this is where our outside hitter has rotated to the back row. And then we have a new outside hitter who is rotated onto the court in the front row. So we're going to cover both of those positions. The first thing I want to cover is, what do we do if our coach says that we can serve? So if we're this outside hitter 1 in our serving spot, where do we go on the court after that ball is served? So our libero is playing all the way over here. And that's where we would usually think that we would go, right? Because we're an outside, so we tend to stay on the left side of the court. But since libero's base is in the left side, we can't steal that from her. So she's going to be over there. Our setter is going to go to her base because we're back here and we're serving, and they can go anywhere on the court within reason. When we're serving, they don't have to worry about crossing over you. Okay, as soon as you serve, you're going to actually come in and play middle back. So you get to play middle back, and then we win the serve. Yay, you get to serve again, and then every single time you're playing middle back. Don't forget your back row, because I know sometimes it happens where you get confused. You may get confused and you go to the front row instead. Just communicate with your team. Realize I'm back row right now. I am playing middle back. Okay, so pretty easy for serve for that situation. Now, what happened to our other outside hitter? That might be you, right? You might be the one who just came on the court. Okay, so in the case of serve, we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to bunch up on the net, but then you're already in your base. So you're all good. You don't need to go anywhere. So you can just hang out and go back and forth along this motion, blocking, and then coming back to transition off the net, right? So you're just kind of working in a little bit of a triangle in your corner. But remember, if your coach wants you guys stacked in the middle, you still have to pull over, block with everyone else, but then you can go back to your base all the way over here. Okay, so that's pretty easy. You're already in your base. You don't really need to worry too much about where to go or what to do in that case other than just play outside. So serve receive, again, I've said it every single time, is difficult. So we're going to work through this a little bit. We're going to assume now that our DS has come in for the outside. So we're the only outside on the court. So outside hitter number 2, you're the one we're going to focus on. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to ignore everything that's happening in the front row. Well, scratch that. We're going to ignore almost everything that's happening in the front row. We're going to still talk about our setter because, again, everything is rotating around her right now. We're going to have our DS, and she's going to shift over. We're going to have our libero who's going to shift over. And you were just front row right here, and you're actually going to scoot back and play back row. Remember, you need to stay one step ahead of the rest of our back row because you're still technically a front row player, but you are pulling back to help pass. So what we just did is we moved our setter up and we moved you back. So this gets the setter closer to her base, and this allows you to pass first, and then as soon as you pass, all my stuff just disappeared. Alright, so we've got our setter, we've got our people front row, people back row, and then us. So as soon as we pass, we do this motion, remember, up to our base. We play in our base for the rest of the rally, and then once the ball dies, that's when we can move back down, and we're still helping out in the serve receive. Now let's say we win, so we're going to go on to rotation 3, and you see here we're in the middle of the front row. So again, on serve, this is what we've been doing all the time. We're ignoring our back row. We're in the middle, and we've got 2 people front row. As soon as we serve that ball over, you're going to sprint to your base, and you're going to play there. So it's just this little motion back and forth from the middle of the court to your base and back to the middle of the court, similar to rotation 1. Alright, and then we're going to see what happens when we go into serve receive. So let's say we lost that serve. So now the other team has a serve. What are we going to do? This is probably the hardest serve receive that we need to learn. So what's going to happen is our right side is going to pull over here, and our middle is going to pull right up next to the net, up in the corner. Our libero is over here, our DS is in the middle, and we were just in the middle front, right? And our setter was right here in the back row. So essentially what's going to happen is the setter is going to switch with the outside hitter. So it's going to look like so. So we're going to move our setter right here, and our outside hitter right here. Now, there's a couple of guidelines you need to do to make sure that you're in the right spot. So again, just like before, you need to be one step above our back row, and you need to make sure you're on this side of our little X up here, our little middle. Okay, so you still need to be within your lines, your little grid lines. You don't need to worry about where the setter is. You don't need to worry about her. Okay, she has her own things to worry about. All you need to do is make sure you're one step above our back row and you're to the right of your middle. Because you still, remember, you came from here. You came from middle front, so you still need to stay on that side of this X right over here. Okay, so I'll do it one more time. It's going to look like this. We're going to have our back row over here. Our right side's pulling over. Our middle's up in the front. Outside, you're going to be right here. Setter's going to be right there. So you're one step ahead of everyone over here. You're on this side of our middle. And of course, you still can't cross over that line. You still can't cross over your DS who's in the middle. So that's everything for outside. Again, if I left anything out or anything was confusing, please let me know. I am here to help, and we will see you in our next video.